Okay. Uh, Now, yeah. So once again, good afternoon to everyone. So now this is our lab session 4, I believe. Yeah, lab session 4. And so in this session, we will be practicing some of the basic data integration techniques, and of course that as probably whoever attended the last session, you already know that in that session we tried to give you some kind of the background for this session, lab session 4 and 5, because all the activities that we do in these two sessions are connected to those previous my two tech talks, that was like tech talk 3 and sorry, tech talk 6 and 7. Okay. So now in this session, that as we said that we will be doing data integration, and as I said, I repeat once again that we have shared with you already a link to download some of the materials, because for this particular session we don't have to install any tools separately, because it's already there. uh, just a second. Who is Oppo something? Huh? Ask, you remove and ask. Okay, I'm sorry. Um, okay. Uh, Yeah, so here, as I said, that we don't have to install any tool separately. So already we have that Protege with us. So I request you all that whoever has that Protege installation, please open your Protege tab, keep it open. And what we do, first we spend couple of minutes on understanding the particular tool and the language that we are going to use for this session, and then we will start doing it by our own. Okay. So first thing is that, as we said, that the data integration, so it's basically for this data we will be integrating from our spreadsheet. So considering that we have the data in our spreadsheet, and so we want that data to be transformed and to be built as a kind of knowledge graph. Okay. Now how do we do that, we will see in this session. Now uh, let me okay, so for this we will be using that, as I said, that the existing tool that is already is bundled with the Protege installation. So all of us, whoever have that Protege, I mean, and your Protege is running successfully on your system, Protege desktop, so you all have that tool. Only thing is that, so you have to go to this, as you can see, that tool menu, and you have to activate from this create axioms from Excel workbook. However, I would say that you can, for trial purposes, you can probably click on that. Otherwise, I will just request you all wait a minute, and we will get back to it soon. But before that, just let us understand that how it works, and when we should open up that, and then how to take it forward. Okay, so first we see couple of slides, and then we'll get back to this actual Protege. So this tool actually is called the Selfie plugin, and if you look at your plugin directory, that as earlier I said, that like if you go to your preference tables, and there you have these plugins, and you will see that Selfie is listed here. So you can see that Selfie Protege, my screen is visible, right? Okay, so Protege Selfie Protege 5.0 plus plugin. So this is the version, it's already installed 2.1.0. But I think the latest version is 2.2.0, but that's fine. So I think this also does many things, except few bugs are fixed, but that's okay. We can still work with this. So the Selfie plugin, that it provides basically GUI. to convert the spreadsheet content. That means you have the data on your spreadsheet and into an OWL ontology in Protege through a flexible mapping mechanism. Now you see, if we reconnect ourselves to the previous sessions that we discussed on data integration, and before that the knowledge graph, that we spoke about the, I mean, some of these keywords that we used repeatedly, like mapping, transformation. So these are all going to be used again here. So Selfie plugin is available as a desktop distribution since Protege 5.0. So as we already have seen that on our Protege installation, and this is available by clicking on that tools, its submenu, create axioms from Excel workbook, right? Now, this tool actually works based upon actually a library. There is a Java library called Mapping Master, which uses the domain specific language. So it's basically Mapping Master is a domain specific language, is used for transformation rule syntax used by Selfie. So because when we say that we need to transform or we need to convert our spreadsheet data to a graph data and to be integrated with our existing schema, or you can say on the other way also, that not only that it has to be integrated, but we can also say that I just want to convert my Excel data to a complete knowledge graph, that where I may have this, you know, T box partially, and I will have also of course the data. Okay, so here that we will be showing that demo how to do that. And for that, the essential thing is that there is a language that we have to use to write the rules, the mapping rules, so that our Excel data fits into as a gets converted as a graph data. Okay, so in this case, this Mapping Master, which is a kind of domain specific language that is going to be used basically for this transformation, to write the transformation rules. Okay, so it gives us syntax, like as you know that any language, like yesterday also I said that any language when we speak, so it basically gives us a set of terms, and it also gives us the syntax. It also gives us the grammar, that how it should be expressed, right? So the same thing is here also, that it's basically a domain specific language. It gives us the syntax, it gives us some few terms also. Okay, and then of course again it uses some of the terms that are also available from the OWL language, because this particular tool actually works with this Protege tool, because as we already understood that, as we already know that this tool is a plugin of this Protege tool. So this tool developed to be compatible with Protege software. Okay, so it is used to specify the mapping rules. That Mapping Master is used to specify the mapping rule between the cell in a spreadsheet and the OWL axiom construct. So as I said just few seconds ago, that it's basically developed to support the OWL construction. So so that means it already understands which are already available in OWL. So it doesn't repeat that, it doesn't try to give those same terms and define it within its language. Instead, it just add those are additionally required to enable us, or to facilitate the rule writing, to facilitate the rules, okay, mapping rules for this transformation. Okay, if you have any doubt, since this is a lab session and we have some time, so please stop me if you have any doubt anywhere. Okay, so we can clarify and then proceed. So now when we talk about the data transformation, this consists of certain steps. I mean, in particular, this is in particular when you are working with this Selfie tool. Okay, it may not be the same always with other data integration tools. Okay, and so here we will be basically talking. So like the first step would be that to load the source ontology, because you have this ontology that you want to add that data, that is an external resource. So you need to first open up, you have to load on your Protege that ontology, that as a source, that where you want to actually further interested to integrate the data. The second step would be open the spreadsheet to be used in the mapping. So the second step is that you open up you load the Excel, that spreadsheet file, okay, where the actual data is resided. So you can load that. Then the third step would be define the desired mapping or load existing mappings. So there are two things. Either you add, as you can see here in the backend, that we have, this is the small Excel file, that's spreadsheet data here. And then we have, say for example, here, yeah. So here we have like different buttons, as you can see, like here we have add. Okay, that means this basically either we can add a rule, or if we have already created rules are already available, so we can load it, we can save it, or we can save as the rules. Like first time when we are saving, so we can save, we can use this button save as. Or if we are just editing some of the rules, because these are incremental, right? Because these rules are not like that, at a go you can, but it depends, right? Again, the kind of data you are receiving every time. So you can either load, or you can, after you edit, you can save this. So these are the very common understanding, buttons are here. And this is the basic interface of the Selfie tool. So once that is done, then save these mappings and execute the mapping. So once we are done with this mapping rules, and then we can, either tick all of them. And there I will show you whether we can always do that, or sometimes we have to, basically we say fire the rules. So here one by one we have to, so we have to execute one by one rule. So here, like, generate exhume. So either you select all, then generate, or anyway, that we will see in the following slides. I mean, sorry, when we do practically. And then review the generated OWL axioms. Of course, you have to, before you add it on your ontology, before you integrate those data inside your ontology. So you can review and optionally save them in a target ontology. So either you just view them, or you decide to add them in a new ontology, or you want to add them to a the existing ontology. Okay, so there are multiple options that you will be seeing. And why we are saving these rules, why it is good to save those rules, because once you develop this model, because this is, remember that by writing these rules, you are basically making the model so that every time you receive the similar data set, okay, so you can just you have to just load the data and just execute the rules. It will be done, everything will be done, so that you don't have to every time repeatedly write. Because, and remember that this, whatever the rules you save, by default it will be stored as a JSON file. So that means, again, you can understand that's like an exchangeable format, right? You can take it to some other system where this similar language supports, or maybe whatever you want to do, you can do with that file, right? And you can share with anyone that file, and if they have the same setup, they can use whatever the rules you create. And that's the way that I have created the rules and I have shared with you. Now, mapping rules defined using mapping masters DSL are saved in a mapping file. That's what I already explained. So far, I think it's good, right? And I will show you on the screen. Yeah, maybe we can straight away now go to the screen. So let us say this is my empty ontology. I have nothing actually. So no classes, no properties, data properties, individuals, and of course annotation and sorry, data types and annotation properties are by default, they are there. So anyway, this is an empty. So of course we will not be working with this. So just I'm showing you the environment, how it looks. So here is the one. So it is looking for the file. So I have to show like it is searching for XSLS or Excel. So the idea is that your data should be in Excel format. Okay, because this supports only these two formats. So then you upload any data, any data that you have. So let us say, for example, first I take this one, and you see that whatever you saw on the slide as a background, so you see that same data is here. And of course, once you do that, either you, as I said, either you create a new rule, and I will explain that what this all stands for, or you can just load the existing rules, like wherever the JSON files are there. Of course, it's pointed like this. So in the same directory, I have the JSON files loaded. And if I load it and I see that those rules are here, okay, and then of course I can execute, but I won't execute right now. Before that, I would like to go through these rules, what they stands for. Some of them quickly I will go through. I have actually had all of them, but then I decided not to show so many things. So we have a couple of them. Let me show you. Okay. So here the selfie, so you can of course always visit to this page for these details of this specification of the language. So here the first thing that you will observe, that we will be using this @ this symbol we will be using every time, and this symbol we use for this tagging something. And tagging something here basically, sorry, tagging basically to point to a particular reference, and that, as you can see here, like this @ is a prefix, and @A1 basically is a cell reference that's saying that in your Excel file, go to the A cell, that you know that in Excel file that we have this column and row, in that each of them are the cells, right? So a reference to cell A1 in a spreadsheet. A* basically refers to, it's also a cell reference, but it basically, this asterisk symbol, as you know that this is a wildcard symbol, so it represents a, so this asterisk symbol represents a wildcard to be replaced by a valid character given a cell range. Either you give the particular cell number, or you can even use this asterisk. It's depending upon your kind of data requirements, and of course we will be seeing them. And then you can of course again point to a particular shell reference. I mean, this is like cell reference, but it was earlier, it was like row relative. Now it is like a column relative. So we can have like a column relative reference, puts the asterisk sign in the column position. So here, like for all the this column, that we point to the only the first one. Then similarly, that we have the like table relative references. So a table relative reference puts the asterisk in both row and column positions. So mapping master will scan the entire cell. So scan the cell range by taking a column or interacting over its cells, and repeat until reaching the last column. Okay. I think this is fairly simple, and of course we will be seeing the example shortly. Now, yeah, this is here an example, and then we will be doing things practically this. So here, let us first understand this, what this rule actually means. Here we have said that class for person. Now, in this case, it assumes that we have just a second, let me see my because I think, yeah, I think we get back to this later. First, let us talk about only this @, because we just completed this cell reference. So what basically here referring to is basically that @B3, in a sense, it's pointing to that B column and row number 3. So this B3 cell, so that's why we are using like @B3. Okay, I think no doubt. Now directive. So now we already now know that how to refer to a particular cell or the entire cells. okay, or the sum of the entire rows or columns that we already know that where we have the data values. Now the another important point is here the directives. So directives are the special parameterized commands or the keywords that will set the behavior of the mapping master's data transformation operation. So in a sense that what exactly you want to do, you have to tell this tool, right, that okay, I want to do this. So you give some directives, you give some directions that you do like this. So in this context, so here we have that couple of directives. I have not put all of them. So here, just as you can see, etc have written. So we have like prefix assignment, language assignment, IRI encoding, shift direction, and data type cast. Then we have like entity cast and so forth. So there are different, as I think, yeah, next slide we have that. Okay, we will see that. So a directive always comes after the use of a cell reference. So this is the grammar that anytime we want to use the directive, it has to be always placed after the cell reference. For example, here, that as it is highlighted with the color code, this is just to indicate that this points to the data type cast. So as you can see that we have the cell reference like C at the rate of C4, that means C4 cell. And then we are saying that the here the directive is the data type cast, because you know sometimes you want to fix your data type, and which is in Excel file. Of course, you don't have probably any data type mentioned, all were used like as a normal text, as a string probably, or just a text, and just and then but while you are transforming it to your graph, you want to specify it data type for various reasons, right, that we discussed in the last all these several sessions in last 2-3 days. So, and that similarly, this another example, it shows that this is the language assignment. So, you know, like, you know, yesterday we were creating like RDFS command, right? RDFS command or many other data elements that where you mainly would like to say, for example, labels, you want to put it in different languages, right? So you may need some time to also cast the language. And that's again, since it is a data that you are fetching to from your Excel sheet to the graph, so you can even direct the tool that how that particular cell should be treated, like here C2, that how that data, that value you have, how it should be treated while it is transformed into a graph. Okay, so these are this is the rule that as I said. So here, like, so here is another one that which I have not highlighted. Say for example, like here it says that directive is like snake case encode, like, you know, that naming convention. So sometimes, you know, you want to write your say labels, or you want to write the class name or the property name or something like that. So you some value, some data value, whatever it is there in your Excel file, so that you want to, you know, change the style of writing that phrase, the multi words that you have. So you can put it probably a camel case, that is snake's case encode, or maybe you want to make it everything upper code, so uppercase or lowercase, or the normal sentence case, like that. There are a couple of functions that it's there. And remember here that when we see this this basically points to that these are the actually the inbuilt, the default, the functions that are provided within the language, and that's why they are prefixed with So wherever you see the as the prefix, this basically to mean that they are the inbuilt functions that are provided by the tool. As I said at the beginning, it maximum utilizes the terms that are already given by OWL, okay, wherever it is required. In addition to that, to enable the mapping and transformation, it has also provided certain set of, I mean, it has a set of inbuilt terms, and that's why it's, again, I say that that's why it is language, because it's giving us that. Okay, so like that we have like here also like this is actually the class, individual. These are the terms that you are already familiar because of that owl, right? So these are the common terms, so that's why it is not that defined within the mapping master language. So that's why they don't have any prefix. But here, so these are the terms, and then we say that okay, these are the the reference. Like here, by saying this, what we are trying to say here, that the cell value A1 actually is an individual. Okay, now here either you say that okay, all the cells have that entities only. So in that case, instead of 1, you can say that asterisk. That means you want to say that of A column, my all the that values, data values are there in that column, all are basically kind of individuals. Or you want to say no, my this A2 cell value, whatever that I have that data within that cell, is basically a class. Okay, so in that way you can actually refer to that, whether that's a class, and then you point to that particular cell, that which cell particular it is, and then you can give some kind of directives like here it is given, or these are the other examples that we have used. Okay, now these are the some built-in functions that already I have said in the last slide, in the previous slide. So the mapping master library has a number of functions that are always available for use, and they are called the built-in functions. So a function always comes after the directives in a cell reference. So this is another the constant, the grammar. The rule is here that anytime that we want to use any built-in function, okay, it should be declared after the directives in a cell reference. For example, so here we have like the cell reference like A2, okay, at the rate of A2. Then we have like the class, and then we are saying that shift up, append. So this basically to say that append, go, and after that whatever you have, you just append it. So they, of course, this we will be seeing with the examples, couple of them, not all of course, but they work actually in the same manner. So these are some of the built-in functions. Like if you want like to uppercase to lowercase, so like that you can convert to uppercase or to lowercase, or you can trim some point, then you can print off, you can the display, you can decimal format, or you want to say that capturing, reverse, and all these things you have replace all, and all this, some of these built-in functions that we can always use. Then we have, so this is the example of this printf. Here I have shown that, like say for example, if you want to use that printf, like say for example, you had in your, let us say in a cell, A1 cell, the data value was car. Okay, as we can see here the value, we say that we use the built-in function printf, and then we say that a, you add this a, so print up that a underscore, and then we say that the value is like come from the A1 cell. So when we see the final output, for example, provided that car was in your Excel file A1 cell, then the output will be like class A car. Okay, so this is something that we are going to of course see, but these are the built-in functions that you can look at in this specification page. Okay, now so now this is the transformation rule example. So we see one example here, and then we go back to the Protege and we do it by our own. So here the rule is written like that. You see that we try to understand this rule. Class Pope person. So we say that in my ontology, and remember when I say like this class Pope person, this means the tool will assume that in the source ontology you have already this object, this entity Pope person, it's already there, and this is defined, it is declared as a class. Okay, now I want to say that make that Pope person as equivalent to what? No, equivalent to the B3. Who is B3 here? No, human being. So that means now this is the one that transformation I'm going to do by through the using the mapping, that I'm saying that make this FOP person that's in my source ontology, which is already loaded. Now make that class is equivalent to the data point that is available in my Excel sheet in B3 cell. Right? I think that's clear, right? And then I'm saying that make this this class also is a subclass of FOP agent. This person class, make it as a subclass of FOP agent. And then we say that the RDFS label. Let's say in my source ontology, I don't have the RDFS label and we have to manually type it. But we can actually utilize the value, but provided that we agree that either we supply here or it comes from my data sheet. So here, for example, what we do in this particular case, what we are doing, so we are saying that make the this is basically a annotation one, that we are creating that annotation property. Remember that we had RDFS label, RDFS command, and deprecated, compatible with, so all this, you know, that annotations that we had. So there we are saying that for this class, add the RDFS label where the value should be coming from A3, that means person, and then it should append, which is an inbuilt function, append. Then we say that person, give a space, and then I say that in that, within the circular bracket, write it that the source is FOP vocabulary, because that person class, that FOP person that I have, that's basically is a source from this FOP vocabulary. And then we are saying that you create RDFS comment, also a human being. So that means we are automatizing the process. Of course, automatizing means, of course, we are providing the value here. We can probably utilize if the values are available already in the data cell. If it is not, then we can also type, and still we can add that into the graph instead of directly editing the Proteage tab. On Proteage, we can also create this by writing the rules. While we write the rules, we can create that text and we can put it there. Okay. And this is one that, but of course, there are many other rules that we will try to understand. And then we have the other rules, like say, for example, these rules tries say class A4, that means again the cell reference is 4. So where is 4? Here, organization. And we say that this is like you make its prefix as FOP, because here I have only the data value as organization, but I want to declare that as FOP organization instead of my own ontology organization. In a sense that I want to reuse the organization, the term, and say that and declare that this organization word, that term is not mine. It's not invented by me. It is already there in another vocabulary, that is FOP. So here I'm saying that you create this structure like as a FOP element, not my into element, let us say. If my ontology name is into, then I'm saying that don't make organization, because here I'm going to, if I don't put this prefix FOP, let us say I don't have this, I delete this, what will happen? This only this class colon A4 at the rate of A4 subclass of colon FOP agent, what this will do, this will actually transform, and in the graph it will be like in my ontology, I will see that there is a class called organization, which will receive its default URI, that is into URI, because that's the source ontology URI. And it will be put under the FOP agent class that is already available in the source ontology. But if we want know that element should be defined as a FOP element, not into element, in that case we can even use this like inbuilt function like prefix, and with that we can easily do that. Okay. there are a couple of other rules, I think. Okay, so this is again another one that is yeah, append. This already we have discussed, but again, let us say for example, we have this in our Excel file, that Orun, and so these are basically this C column essentially points to some individuals, right? And I want to say that in my graph, you put this Orun, sorry, you create the value for the data property name, which is already there in my source ontology, and that's why we are writing facts. So Orun has name, some name, right? What is that name? That value we are saying that take that value as at the rate of C1, that is the cell reference. But when you do that, you please append B Orun. So that means I'm saying that don't write just Orun. You write it B Orun. So that's what I'm saying, that append. So it's basically the append. This is like a string. So any string, this is the syntax. So append. And then within the double quote, you put your string value, whatever you want to add. So this concatenate the cell value after the input string. Okay. I think clear. If you have any doubt, let me know.
Sir, where this B is coming? B Arun.
Who is that? Please, whenever you
Gadgi.
ask, oh yeah, madam. Yeah, madam. What you were saying? Oh, this
B
B.
in the bracket. Yeah.
Yeah, so this B actually I am giving that, I am saying that this don't write just Orun, because I know that it is Orun Banerjee, right? For example, and I want to be abbreviated like Orun B or something like, you know. So it's a string that I am providing. It's not coming, it's not available in my data, I mean, in my data sheet. It's not available in my source ontology. It's nowhere available, but I am supplying this string as a string value. And I want this value to be added, appended with that name Orun. So what happens that it takes that value C1 Orun, it takes it, and then along with that, this B also will be appended. So that means when I will see for this Orun as an entity and his name, I will see there it is displayed like Orun B, Orun Banerjee. Okay. So I can write even
Okay.
Banerjee, I mean full form also you can write. So it's basically, you see that this is a double quote has been used. So that means it is showing that it's a string, as we have given here the syntax. So the syntax for append command here is that append, and then within the circular bracket, you put in the within the double quote the value, anything that you want to give, you put it as a string, because that will be treated as a string. And when it will be transformed to your graph, it will be like, you know, attached to that whatever the value is here, and after that it will be added. Okay. Anyway, that
Okay.
we will be seeing this practically. So I think that will be more more effective, right?
I have
Okay.
one doubt
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
My
madam,
name is
please.
Sam.
Yeah, please.
See, in that you have said facts name at C1. I'm not understanding. Is it C1 or should it be C2?
So here that this right now I am considering only the C column, right? So I'm not actually looking at this, what they are in the A, B and all. What I am interested only to this data point. So my
Yeah,
focus is on C1 only.
that is C2, no?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, I see. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's supposed to be C2. Yeah, it's a typo error, ma'am. Yeah, right. You're
Okay.
right.
Thank
Sorry. Yeah. Okay, so uh, now we go to, this is, of course, this is a very big rule, but right now this is what also again shared with you. This we will execute, and I'm skipping this. Because whatever we have already discussed, this actually contains the same thing, but with a in a bigger scale. That's the only difference between the previous and this one. Okay. Yeah. So here we see the value if we transfer. So where is name here? I don't. Okay, so I don't think that this is the right. Okay, this is just, I think, but it doesn't have that that transformed one, but we will be doing by our own. So it doesn't show the exact value. Okay, and this is what actually initially we didn't have that plan of web protein, so it was included at the last moment. So That's why this was added already, but you know that. So here, like, you know, in web protege we saw that, right? So I'm skipping that. This not to mention right now, so we can, so that's all. So these are the some of the references, of course, you can use. Now I go back to the practical thing. Okay. And yeah, so we know this. So let me go to my protege tab. I close this. And so now what we do, I have shared with you, I think total 5 files. Of course, don't consider this. This basically automatically, it's a log file. It creates automatically. So we don't need, actually, it also keeps all these logs values. So anyway, that's not required for us right now. So what we have, so I have shared with you 2 JSON files, 2 Excel files, mapping files, and what is, yeah, 2 OWL files also. Okay. So this basically, this goes like this. So this, and these 3 files actually will go together. And yeah, anything? It's shared with them, right? So it's already shared with you. So I think if anyone have not yet downloaded, I request you to download if you want to run the programs in parallel, like while I do. Okay. So then we have another set, that is, this is the set actually. Yeah, and yes, this is another set. Okay. So anyway, I'll show, nothing to worry about. Okay, let me open this. So first I do with a very simple one, that is like, say, for example, the class mapping. And I tell you that reason, of course, it's not required. We could actually capture everything in one file, but I just decided to keep it separate so that I can show you a very small example, and then we go with a bigger data set and show you that how it scales actually. And by the way, when I say about the scale, remember, you know, that the Excel file that I have shared, it's only consists of, you know, it's a very tiny file that it has only 4 rows. So 4 data sets, and I think some 22 or 24, I don't remember exactly how many properties it has, but I think it would be surely above 20 data I mean, different type of properties, their values are there. But in the real situation, you may have thousands of such data sets, right? Thousands of millions of rows you may have. So when we talk about this, remember one thing, that Selfie is quite efficient, because Selfie doesn't have much issue with that, the scalability wise, I believe so. But the main problem comes into your when it comes to that such as you know, huge large data, your machine hardware capability plays a major role, is going to play a major role, because remember, this is Java, right? Java based. So everything going to run on the memory. So how much memory size you have, it really matters. Second thing is that my experience with working with this COVID ontology, that we said that we had 75,000 plus unique data sets for patients, and we had a very limited number of data properties. Like I think we had hardly some, I think 15 or 16 elements we had, but we had almost like more than 75,000 data sets, unique patients. For that, my desktop, my laptop computer in Windows platform, my Protege was actually, you know, was crying like anything. It was not able to do it. I found that it could do up to 10,000 efficiently, very quickly, but then the moment I start increasing, it basically used to cry. And my hardware configuration is like, I have 4 GB RAM, and I think that of that, some of the RAMs were used by some other applications, but whatever was available for Protege was not good. And there is some problem with the Protege. I was unable to really increase the memory size for Java heap size, that is popularly, like many of you know probably. But then I used the same laptop and I went to the Ubuntu, and then I could actually easily manipulate the heap size. And there I found that the 75,000, though it took some time, few hours it took, some, I think if I remember correctly, almost like 3 to 4 hours it took to load. It works, but the problem is that if you try to do with Protege that kind of like millions of data, no, then Protege will fail, because the problem is that Protege is not made for actually for the real, data integration purposes. Okay, so that we have to keep in our mind, that if you are in a situation, in an enterprise situation, that where you have like every day millions of data, then probably all these things that I'm showing you, either you have to find out the way, find out the way for like going on piecemeal manner, or you have to think of some other alternative tools, like the earlier I said in my previous tech presentations, that like you have Allogograph, you have some many other database management, graph data management system, which also supports this kind of integration. So you can go for it. But of course, again, I say one more thing, that each of these tools have their disadvantages and advantages. Obviously, that's why they are all differently existing. But saying that, again, I tell you that the level of integration, the level of the way data will be captured by all these across this tool that I named several tools in the last 2 sessions, it's actually again varies, and there will be a lot of debate to consider that your the value of your data. Now, when it comes to the value of your data, I can assure you, though Protege cannot scale, because the purpose of Protege was not for to support this one, that we are only making use of it, but it was not the actual idea for allowing you to integrate the data. But if we do it here, the advantage is that the kind of analytics, the kind of the smart that system that we are talking about would be able to much more precisely and much more in a more intelligent thing that we can create, and good artifact that we can create, which may not be always possible with those tools. But again, I'm not taking any name with which tool we can do, which tool we cannot do. Anyway, so now just I get back to again here. So let me see, what's the time now? 2:50. Okay. So now I would say that what you do, you open up the file that is example ontology for class. That is what that it is opened. And if you look at that, it has this active URIs, IRI, and it doesn't have any class, doesn't have any properties. It has one data property. I have created a name. That's all. It's basically an empty one. So that means even if you don't use that ontology that I shared with you, with example ontology for mapping class or something like that. So even if you don't use, just add one data property name, and rest will work for you. Okay. So now after that, what we do, we go to the steps we discussed already. So let us click on that. And if you click, so the first thing that it will ask you to load the class for mapping Excel file. Load it. Now it got loaded, right? So it's up there already, and we can see that it shows that this demo, this class for mapping.xsl. So this is my Excel data, right? And yeah, okay, I should, this is not required actually, I forgot to remove it. Okay, now what we do, now either we add the rules or we load the rules. Okay, so just to be what I suggest you don't load the rules, though I have shared with you, it is for your future purposes, future reference purpose, or if you are not able to run for some reason, then you can use. Otherwise, I would suggest you to use the add rules, and I will tell you that which rule to upload, which rule to write. Okay, So let me open up all these rules and let me uncheck it. And I suggest you just let me open it on this window. Yeah. So you click on this add rule and you will see an empty tab, like empty view here, right? And of course, you will not see anything on the comment. So that's fine. So this is for anything that you want to write. So here I have given some instructions that how these rules to be used. Okay, so that you can in future you can use it. Otherwise, you may find some error. Okay. So I suggest you all of you to just type it. So you write class colon, then give a space and then write at the rate of. And the purpose is here for us is that we want A2, that means agent, and it should be defined as a subclass of owl thing, which is a root node. We know that, right? Here we have owl thing, right? So I suggest you, please just type your own this rule. And then once you are done, just let me know. I will also execute, you will also execute, and we will see some result and you will wait for me. Okay. So please type the rule.
Sir, can you zoom in?
Zooming, how do I do here? So this is actually, okay, let me try to increase the screen size, maybe. Is that better now? Or let me, okay, I do one thing. I put it on some other, this one application. Let me put it on Word and maybe, and then I just increase the size. This is the rule. I think this is better, right? You can read it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, that I can, yes, surely do that. But let's see, at least one rule, if they type by their own, at least that will burn their finger, right? So next rule onwards, we can copy paste. Yeah, that's a good idea. So if anyone is done with that, please let me know so that we can execute the rule and see that what happens.
Done, sir.
Okay. I guess everyone has done that. So let me now. Okay, so this is my rule. Okay, so I just save it. So you can just say okay. Okay. Now, what we do, we see that like, okay, so while you added this, one more thing I didn't say here, I forgot to mention that. Of course, it really doesn't matter. Right now we have in our Excel file only one sheet, so that
I can't hear you properly.
okay, I'm sorry. So now is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this in that the first one here, that sheet, and then this is basically the pointing to the your Excel file. So your Excel file may have multiple number of sheets, Excel sheets. So you can point here which particular sheet you are trying to pick up. So right now, of course, we don't have to worry because in our Excel file only we have one sheet. And then you say that start column A, end column A, because we want to restrict right now the integration process within a single column. And then we say that start row is basically, let us say it's supposed to be here, let us say 2. Okay, because that's what we want, because the first one actually we don't want, because that's just a class, so it's okay, we don't want that. And we say end row plus, so that means any number it's coming, so it's basically it's okay, we don't mention that, but we can also mention 2 because that's the only one cell, but it's not required because we are very specifically pointing here that it's A2, only one cell value, so it will automatically pick up even if you don't change there. Okay, now what we do, if the rule is written, then just select that particular rule. Okay, and then say generate axiom. Now you see here, I see a bunch of this one errors. Let me see why. Encountered at line 0, column 0. We was expecting, okay, let me see whether at the process of deleting and all I did anything. Why? Class at the rate of this prefix pop. This looks fine. Okay. So this is one small bug is there. Why it's not working here? What's the problem? Let me check. Okay, it's there. What's the issue? Okay, one more check I have to do. This is fine. This is already given. What's the problem? Oh, this is fine. Okay, let me create a new one. So I don't believe this. Sometimes this has bugs. Sometimes, you know, you have to open and then it runs. So that's some small bugs it has. So I don't believe that sometimes. So let me say repeat rule. Okay. Where is that here? Okay, so this is what empty one that. So let me delete this. Delete. This is the one. Yeah, now it has success. So I told you that sometimes, you know, that you will not know what's the problem. So now you see that what it says that these are the actually the axioms are created. So here we can see two axioms are here. One is like class pop agent. So it has created a class pop agent. And then another axiom that pop agent is a subclass of owl thing. So we see here two axioms. Now that we have the multiple options, like we want to accept it, we are satisfied. No, we are not satisfied, cancel it. We are okay. So now add to a new ontology. You want to put it in a different ontology instead of in the source ontology, because it may happens, right? Because sometimes you don't want it to be in the same. So it's all your choice how you want to go for it. So add to a new ontology or add to a current or add to current ontology. Let us say I want it to be added in my current ontology, and I say add to current ontology, and I see already here it is there, right? So here it is added like owl thing. Under that pop agent has been created. Please, everyone, please try that to execute that rule and see that what it happens. Anyone, please, if you have tried and you are successful, then please let me know. Or if you have any problem also, you can let me know.
Done, sir.
Okay, great. So this you could successfully create it, right? So I think this is very simple, and I think everybody should be able to do that. And now we will do this. Now, what is that? This is rule 2. Just I have ordered it so that, you know, it goes step by step. So now what we said that we don't have any. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, A3, what we have, okay, person. Okay. Now we are saying that this second rule is saying that class in A3, that means person, and add its prefix as Pope and load it as a subclass of agent. Okay. So we execute this rule. So you can also do side by side. I keep it open for you to, or I just share on the chat box. Maybe that would be good. What happened? Okay, I can't. Okay, here. Okay, so I have shared with you that rule on your chat box. So you may copy paste from there. Okay, and once you are done, just you again, just select that rule only. Don't you make sure that you untick the previous one and then select it and generate the axiom, and you will see like this. So it says that now 4 axioms created, like class Pope agent is there, Pope person, and then is a subclass of owl thing, and person is a subclass of Pope agent, because that's the chain we are building now. Pope agent is a subclass of owl thing which was already there. Now we are saying that Pope person is a subclass of Pope agent, and I say that add to current ontology. And I see here it has been already incorporated. Okay. Any issue?
Sir, can you show that one, last one again?
What you mean last one? So okay,
Formation rule editor.
Okay, I have already copy pasted that rule on your chat box. You can copy paste directly.
Sir, that I got it. I just want to see something else. Okay, sir.
Okay, and I think you got the similar result like this. And if you say that add to current ontology, it will be added here. Okay, so if anyone have done that, I'm not sure that whether you are all able to do it successfully. So if you respond to me, then only I can understand that what's going on.
Done, sir.
Okay. What about the others? Okay, there is, okay, done. Okay, that's great. Okay, now we go to the next one. That's rule 3, let's say. Sorry. Oh, okay. Got error. Can you share your screen? I mean, what error actually you are getting, Dr. Ronak? Dr. Ronak, can you let us know that what actually kind of error that you are getting? Expected Pope agent. So did you create the Pope agent already? Like the rule 1 that we executed? Then you obviously will get that, because this rule 2 is expecting. Okay, so you were not there actually, I think, in that case, because we have executed this rule 1. So okay, I then copy paste for you this on your chat box. So first you make it as your rule 1. So first you execute this particular rule that I'm going to share with you. And so rule 1, you please execute first this, because we are trying to create an entity as a subclass to an existing entity, right? So unless that's available, it will not find that data point, right? So obviously it will show that it's not available. So we have to first create pop agent, and then we have to execute the rule 2.
Yes, done. Yes, done.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, now, so now we go to the rule 3, and yeah. So now the rule 3 says, again, I copy paste on your chat box. Let me copy paste to your chat box. So this is rule number 3. So this rule actually is talking about that A4, that means organization, put that one as a subclass of pop agent, and for that you declare that this data point as a pop organization. Okay. You can even try without adding this prefix is equal to pop. That also you can try. But the thing is that if we do that, it's a good point is that, you know, we are creating this data point as the data point that is not ours. As you can see that by hovering the mouse on that, I can see that this is written like HTTP : I mean, this basically is pointing to the pop person, not that into or my local person like here I tried to mention, right? So I think it's done. Okay, so now I move to the next rule. So the third rule that we execute, and it's already there with your chat box, so please you can use that. And so I execute that, and I make sure that no other rules are selected. So let me click on it, and it says that now pop organization subclass. So it's basically the repetition one. So we can see that now pop organization also has been part of this agent, right? Now this is rule 3. So I'm going little faster to this set because we have another bigger set. So it's already 3:10. So I'm going to go little fast because I think now you already know that how this tool actually works, right? Okay, now I'm pasting the rule 4, and you can just again copy paste, and I will explain that what that rule stands for. So what this rule actually we are going to do, as you can see on your Excel file, that you know, it's there in the B3 data point. Okay, B3 node is like human being, and we are saying that this you know, this pop person which is already there in my ontology, source ontology, is equivalent to B3, and that's also a subclass of pop agent. And now we are saying that you add the annotation. So let us say we execute this rule and see that how it affects, right? So I select that rule and say that generate axiom, and we see that there are 5 axioms are created. So which was already there, some of them were already there, like pop person class. So class pop person, and then we have human being equivalent to pop person. That's what actually we wanted. And we said that person is a subclass of pop agent. This one actually already was declared. We can even skip that. It's not required, that that rule. And then pop person RDFS comment. So a human being. And okay, let us say before I show that, I go to that, say that you see that I don't have any annotations here for this pop person. Now after I execute that rule, I will see that they are already in, say here. So pop person has become an equivalent class to human being. As you can see here, pop person is an equivalent to human being. and human being is equivalent to person. So now these people are these two classes, two entities are basically the equivalent classes. And also we have now for class 4 person, we have two annotation properties added, that is RDFS label, that is person, and the source is FOB vocabulary, and the RDFS command is basically a description, a human being, and source is WordNet 2.0. And this is what we added in our rule, that saying that make annotation property RDFS label data point as A3 and append. So that means person. So we take it as it is person, and then we take that value, we append it, that is as a string, that is source FOB vocabulary. That is what we are seeing on our screen. Similarly here, a human being source this. So if we go here again, so we see person, that is coming from A3 cell, then within the double quote, that is the string value, and the same thing here also. This entire thing is a string here, because in this rule we don't have any data point here. Like here we had one data point mentioned here, but in this case we didn't want any data point. But if you want, of course, we can always have the data point. Is that clear? I think it's fairly easy, right? And then we move forward with another rule, that is FOB person, but of course this will be doing again, so no worries. So now we say rule 5, and rule 5, okay, let me share with you that on your chat box. Where is chat? So FOB person, okay, copy, and rule 5, and if you execute this rule, copy paste, create that rule as add, and then just execute, you will see it has created 8 axioms. And if you analyze the rule, you will understand why it is happening like that. So you see in our Excel file, we have 3 data values like Orun, Borun, Chris. And what we want them as the rule says, that they are actually the individuals. So all the values that are available in that column are the individuals, and treat them as a person. So that means all of them will be the member of the class called person. They will not be the member of the class organization. So what we do, if we say add to current ontology, and if we go back to this ontology, and we'll see now that we have Orun, Borun. Okay, so this entity has come because of this a slight issue with that rule. Okay, we should, let me correct it. So what we did, so I have removed again this, so I went back to the previous step, and now what I do, I just correct that. And the mistake was here that we have taken starting from 1, right? So we have to start from 2, so that it will collect only the 3. And now we see that Orun, Borun, and Chris are only added into that. And if we look at this here, we see only Orun, Borun, and Chris, because we didn't want the value from the cell 1 of C3, I mean C1, right? We wanted C2, C3, C4. Okay, so is that clear? Anyone, please? Okay, there is a chat box. Okay, yes, clear. So done. Okay, great. So I think all are able to do it. This is fairly simple, right? So it's going fine. Okay. Now let us say I take another rule from this set, and we have like that Orun B that earlier we were talking about it. Let us try with this, and let me share with you again that as rule 6. And now you try with this rule, and you see that what you get the result. Okay, so here the rule is here like for individual Orun, because now Orun has been already added, so it's already there in my ontology, source ontology. Then I said that of course it's a person. So though it's not actually required, because this is really it's not needed, because already it is defined as a person. So you can keep, or you can just even remove that. And then that we say that okay, the fact is that it has name, C2, that means Orun, take that Orun and append B, and we see that what happens. Let's see. And we see here that it says that individual Orun is a type of person. It's like a repetition because already it's there. We don't need that. And then we say that Orun name Orun B. Now add to the current ontology. Okay, so there is a skin problem for me. Okay, so now I go back to this Orun, go to the, click on that Orun entity here, instance, click there. You will go to that individual tab and you will see that it has been created like Orun B and XSD string, because that's what in our data that we had that here, that earlier when we created that name. Okay. So here, sorry, Borun and Chris of course are empty. So Orun B is already added here. It was not there actually. Okay. And of course the URI is like in my default URI. Okay. Because I'm considering that this is part of my knowledge base. Okay, so I think this is fairly simple. So if you are done, then we have, I think, hardly 10 minutes time. So we will try to work with the large one that we have that I shared with you already. So if you are done with this, you may close this. Okay, you can save it so that again next time you can again try with this. And by the way, remember this, because since you have created all these rules you have added, don't forget to save it, save rules, and then you give a name. So like save as, and you put it somewhere, you give a name and save it as a JSON file, so that next time you can load that and you can play around with that rule set. Okay. Now I'm closing that, and now I will move to the next data set. And for that, again, I have shared with you the into ontology, a large ontology. And let me open that file. So I say, okay, yes, forget this one. And then I say Semtech for Semtech. Okay. Okay. So this is that same big ontology that it's with you now. And what we do the same process. So we have already, multiple number of classes and subclasses are already added here. So which is fine. And let me load the data set, then we can come back to this again and see what we can do. Okay, let me open. Yeah, this is sample data for into. You should pick up this sample data for into ontology. Open that, and if you load this, you will see a large set of data points are here on the Excel file. Like you see here, some are empty, some of the up to W. Yeah, so you have a large amount of data, and the first column actually provides the table heads. So we may not be interested, but they are basically the labels, and the labels can be anything, right? So we don't care about that. So what is important here, that now we have like some 4 entities here, and then we have some, roll number, some given name, family name, date of birth, then their city, district, state, postal code, country, gender, then enrolled to a particular course, the course name, then affiliation of all the 4 persons. Okay. And then qualification, what are the qualifications those people have, those entities. And then we have doctoral degree from which university, that if it is available, and that has involvement. So like, employment, like whether they are that means from this data set, we can understand that we have some mixed of student and the teachers. It's not basically a homogeneous in a sense, from the data point of view, because we have the mixed of types of data, that some of them are students, some of them are employees. And when we look at that, also you see that there is a variation, like someone is like, probably a guest person, some researcher and someone is a regular faculty, and yeah, and they have this research interest, right? And they have this, these are these two students, and they have some supervisor, and which is in our data point. Yes, the data point, the fourth one. And yes, for both the students, that's the same supervisor we have here. And we have these people, they, I mean, these last two, as we know, that they are kind of employees. So they have like they teaches some courses, they offer some courses. And then the students, for them the courses are not mentioned here, it's okay. Then has teaching experience, these people, they have teaching experience. And has their age, of course age I have left it empty, because this we can calculate it, because we have the date of birth. So when we do the Sparkle, actually we should be able to even tell through the queries what is the age, provided that that any of the values are available. And so I left it empty, it's okay. And then their email IDs. Okay, so these are the different data points. As you can see that, I mean, I tried to keep it as real as possible, but of course this data is a kind of handcrafted data. Okay, and now what we do, our goal is to basically transform this data. And before we proceed, we just look for whether these data points are already there in the in my knowledge base or not. So I check it by Arun, and I see nothing. It doesn't pops up. Jaidev, I don't see anything. And then we had some Barun, I don't see that also. And then what else? We had maybe Amrita, yeah, Amrita, Prakash, yeah. So we can check whether they are there. Sorry, so Amrita, it's not there. We check Prakash, it's not there. So none of them are there. That's good. Okay. Now what we do, we load the rules that are already with you. Maybe what you can do now, you can just pick up the rule. So you can just directly load that rule file that I have shared with you. That is these rules, sample data for Into. Okay, and you load this, and just you will be executing a couple of them. Okay, or maybe all of them, because we don't have to type. So let's see what we do. Okay, now what happens? So these entities are not there. So our first job would be to create those entities and make them as part of our source ontology. Otherwise, all these data points, they basically don't exist without these entities, right? That's logical. So here, when we have to execute the rules, we have to be a little bit, we should have that understanding. And that's the thing that on those two last tech talk, I was talking all these actual issues. Okay, so that's why we kept those two talks, because we wanted to discuss all those critical points. Like when we are going to, play with this data, transform this data, we need to understand the logic that which data point we need, and then only which other data points we can integrate. Otherwise, the things will, this system will give you an error message. Okay, so the thing is that first we need to make them as part of our ontology. I mean, as part of our that graph. So let us say where we have them. And also beside that, not only they, but we have also the other data points. In fact, what we do, because these points connected to many other points. Okay, so what we do, we can one more thing that I forgot to mention. We don't have time, right? So how much time we have now? Okay, it's only 3-4 minutes we have. So okay, fine, we can little bit push, right? Because then we will have the lab session again, right? So we can continue. Okay, so what we do here, let's start little bit understand this data. See, we have this city, right? Now, how you want to say, how you want to visualize your data city point, I mean city like say Kolkata, this data point, how you want to treat it? You want to treat it as an entity, or you want to treat it as a literal? I think obviously the answer would be like, okay, as a literal, sorry, as an object, because I mean as a resource, or you can say that as another describable entity, because in your model also, so you need to understand your ontology also, that how your ontology has been modeled. Because in the last example case, we were creating from our data points, but in this case, we have already the ontology is available. The data, the ontology model is ready already. So what we are creating now, we are mapping our data from the Excel file to the existing ontology model. So here how it is modeled. No, city is defined as a class. So we want to see the Kolkata as a city, as an instance, not as a literal value. That is our model says, right? So what we do in this case, now I'm going little faster. Now I'm going to do it. So because these are the things will be repeatedly for the same thing. So city, district, as you can see, city, country, district, state, town, all are defined as a class. So it is expected that all the data points here we see, they are nothing but the instances. So what we do, we first execute this sum of these data points that which we are going to treat them as an entity. Okay, so now say for example that we have like, you know, research topic, because research topic also we have, like say for example, yeah, here, so we have research, a bunch of research topic, but those are not of course here. So we are going to make them as an instance. So what we do, we here I have given side by side as a comment just so that easily we can understand. So what we have, so research topic, district, then we don't execute this complete rule one because that we will be doing at the end. And then we have this university, because that's also we wanted to be as a resource. And then country, bachelor's degree also is a resource for us, because here if you look at here that degree, so we have these different degrees here. Okay, and here BTech is not there, but in our data set we have the BTech. Like here, say where is degree? Yeah, here degree, BSc is there, but BTech is not there. And in our here we can see that BSc is there, PhD is there, but BTech is not there. And this actually also answers to some of the questions that yesterday was asked, that if my value is already there and if I have to do the job repeatedly, whether it will be possible. This is the answer, madam, that I think some madam asked that. So this is the answer, that here BSc, PhD both are there in my current data set. So, but only things that one unique data point is here, BTech. That's the degree that's getting into that. So now then what we have, country, university, bachelor, city, entity, yes, and course and state entity. So first I will do one thing, I will run all these rules. Okay, this except this complete rule one, rest I select and I say generate axiom, and I see immediately it has popped up and created some 52 axioms. And we can quickly go through some couple of them, like say individual abstract algebra, and we see here where we had here yeah. So this is not, let me cancel. So let me here abstract algebra teaches topic. So let me again run, yeah, abstract algebra. Okay, then BSc, BTech, Bangalore. BSc already of course there, but when we integrate, it will normalize it. Then BTech, Bangalore. So all the entities that we saw and we were interested, like Durgapur, Bardwan, these all we wanted as a resource, and we say that all of them are created. And also we see their types also are defined, like say abstract algebra has been considered as a course, algebra as a research topic, BSc as a bachelor degree, BTech as a bachelor degree, Bangalore as a city, Bangalore South as a district, Bardwan as a district, Durgapur as a city. Like that, you see if you go through all the data points, and beside that, these are this color that actually shows these are the annotation properties. This is also going to create the labels for each of those entries that we are creating. Okay, like say for example, let us take one, say BTech, and it has like label BTech, and we will see whether it gets added to the current ontology. Let us say add to the current ontology. I go to there, I look for the degree, and now I see that BTech is here already. And I click on that, I reach to here, and I see that BTech has the label RDFS label BTech. Okay, and that's the way. And now if we search even, say for example, Orun, Borun and all, of course they are still not here, of course, yeah, or we don't see them. Now let us say country, of course India, then see Bardwan is already added, Bangalore South. State, earlier we had only Kerala, but now we have Karnataka and West Bengal. So now what we do, we have one more rule that to execute, and now I uncheck all of them, and I just pick up the one rule that is quite big, and it considers all the data points that we want to consider and to be integrated in our knowledge base. So here, for example, so individual A star, so that means we want that all the data entry point that are here, so add them as individual and type them as a person, and then their roll numbers, given name, FOB name, and you see here I'm using some of the features of this, this like mentioning their, casting. So like we have this, we want to treat this roll number that is here as a string, given name, family name as a string, date of birth as a date time, and but then for this city, district, state, since we have considered as the resource, so we don't treat them. So we just say that because they are already created, so just we want to say that who has city what. So like here Orun belongs to the city Kolkata. He belongs to Kolkata. Amrita belongs to Durgapur. Prakash belongs to Bangalore, Jaidev belongs to Bangalore. So all these things, so we have done. So wherever it is applicable, the same repeated rules. It's just the matter of you repeat the same thing. And one more thing you should remember here, that all the things that you see that after the fact that are written, no, these are the properties that are already in my target ontology. If they are not there, then the system will complain that this particular entity is not here. For example, intentionally, I try to manipulate this, and I say that enrolled, actually in this into ontology, I have enrolled, but now I have made it like enrolled 111. Okay, and remember this, we'll see. And he says that enrolled 111 doesn't exist in the ontology. So that means we need to be clear that what we are adding, and that's it, and we generate. And we see here 74 axioms are now created. Orun, Amrita, Jaidev, Prakash, all of them are created. They are treated, all of them, as a person, and they are all the values. And when we go to their say person, so I go to the FOB agent person, and now I see I have now Amrita, Arun, Jaidev and Prakash. These 4 people are added. Any questions? Any question? There is a, okay, so I think there is no question. Okay, so now you can see that these 4 entities are added into your ontology in your knowledge base. Now let us click any of them, and I see all the values that we had in our data point in our data sheet. So they are all here. So as you can see, their cities Durgapur, affiliation DRTC, district Bardwan has this, and then family name, postal code and all. If we go to this data set, you see here, this roll number is this, given name Orun Banerjee, date of birth is this, city Kolkata, West Bengal, DRTC, BSc, and his supervisor is Joydev. So this we can just go there and verify that, say, had supervisor. So let's see, yeah, had supervisor Joydev, and he belongs to the district from Bardwan, and then city Durgapur, and state West Bengal. Yeah. So you see that same thing is there for everyone. That if we go to there, let us say I go back to this same data point. So Arun, now we see again these values are added here. I go back to this Joydev, so I see again the values are added. I go back to here Prakash, again I see here, right? And of course you can take the help of this, of course, always that to visualize these data points again. So like Arun, so you have this multiple data points. Okay. So maybe, yeah. So this is slightly coming in a different way, but of course it's just the matter of manipulation, that how you see that this is the graph for Arun. Okay. And yeah, these are the different values are you see. Okay. So I think that's all. So if anything, any doubt, any question, any clarification you want, please let me know. Any question? So that means I'm considering that it was fairly simple, right? So the integration really went well with all of you, I believe. Okay. So in that case, so I think I am done. And now